Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. Thanks very much for watching my video. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan. If you haven't already, please subscribe below. There'll be many more videos to come. And also, check some of my older videos too. I've been doing this now for a little over a year and a half. It's been a lot of fun. Today, though, I'm going to be reviewing a classic solo Beatle album. This one comes from George Harrison. It is called Electronic Sound. It's his second album, and it was originally released back in May of 1969. This is a very experimental album, and in fact, the music that you're hearing right now are samples from that record. There are actually only two songs. The first song is called Under the Mercy Wall, which is a little over 18 minutes and 44 seconds. And then the second song is called No Time or Space. It's a little over 25 minutes. I'm going to show you, this was on Apple Records, their smaller label called Zapple. And this is the record. So it's pretty cool. That's the front side. And this is the back. Now, there was some confusion with the songs. They actually put the second song here in these grooves on the front side. And then they messed up the same thing too. The first song is on the back, which wasn't supposed to be. This was a mistake that happened here in the United States and Canada. And they finally got that fixed in the 90s. This instrument that you're hearing is the Moog Synthesizer. This was invented by Robert Moog back in the 1960s. With the advent of the transistor, made this possible. Now I'm going to read something that George Harrison had said in an interview back in 1987 about this. He says, "All I did was get that very first Moog synthesizer with the big patch unit and the keyboards that you can never tune, and I put a microphone into a tape machine, so whatever came out when I fiddled with the knobs went on tape. But some amazing sounds did happen." Now, I would say that this is probably, I would call it 1960s space music. I'm going to show you what this looks like. This is George's. So what you have is you have his synthesizer, his keyboard, and then you have all of the patchwork in the back, the cables and everything. Very sophisticated for the 1960s. Okay. Now George was very dismissive of this record when it came out. The Zapple label was experimental sounds, the whole idea, where there would be sounds like this, avant-garde music. John Lennon and Yoko Ono, for example, you know, their stuff was on it. There were only two releases, and then there would be poetry was the plan. Well, the first one was Life with the Lions from John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and then this one, Electronic Sound, and then it folded. Now, when George was told to write the customary 1,000 words for the liner notes, this is what he said, okay? This is a quote on here that he put on here. It says, "It could be called avant-garde, but a more apt description would be in the words of my old friend Elvin, avant-garde a clue. Haven't got a clue." And then here's another quote he put on here. "There's a lot of people around making a lot of noise. Here's some more. Arthur Wax." And it says the album was remastered from its original 2-track stereo master mixtapes. Okay? Now, the two songs, the first song, Under the Mercy Wall, was recorded at George's home with the assistance of Rupert and Jostick, the Siamese twins, February 1969. And this is what you're hearing right now. This is that song. The Siamese twins he's referring to are his two cats. I think, yeah, Rupert and Jostick. And those were his and Patty's cats. That's his wife. And, you know, I don't know. He was being fun. That was George. And then No Time or Space was recorded in California, November 1968, with the assistance of Bernie Krause. So here's the story that happened with the development of this, how this came about. Back in November 1968, George was recording in California an album, Jackie LaMox. He was a recording artist. He was producing that album for him. And Bernie Krause was a Moog synthesizer salesman. He was also a musician, and he came and was demonstrating to George for the possibility of a sale how it worked. Well, he liked it so much he ended up buying it. And later it was actually used on the Beatles' Abbey Road album. They brought it to EMI Abbey Road Studios. And actually some of the songs that you can hear this on are Because by the Beatles. Let's see what else. Maxwell's Silver Hammer, and Here Comes the Sun. I think there might be a few others, but it wasn't used quite as heavily as this. I think it's interesting. I know that at the time when I got it as a gift, long after it came out, I was a teenager, I played it for a couple minutes, you know, one side. Okay, I'll flip it over on the other. All right, let's see if it's any different or any better. And this is what it was. So let me let you listen to the next part, the next song, and you can get an idea if that's any different. This is Bernie Krause. Now, I don't know what George's involvement was on the No Time or Space. Okay, I don't know if they were doing it together. I'm not quite certain. But anyway, Under the Mercy Wall, there was a column in the Liverpool Echo. This is a play on words. There was a newspaper, the Liverpool Echo, and there was a column there called Over the Mercy Wall by a journalist named George Harrison. Very coincidence. No Time or Space was the Bernie Krause thing, and Bernie was so upset. He had no idea that it was being recorded. Apparently the engineer was recording the demonstration, and this is what they had, and he had no idea. So when he found out it was going to be released, he said, look, you know, I was just demonstrating you how to use it, and some of it is actually an unreleased song that I'm going to be putting together, you know, with a project that I have. So I don't want you to put it out. Well, he did anyway. And actually on the album cover it says produced by George Harrison, and it also has Bernie Krause's name on there. Bernie wanted it off, so what they did is they actually just painted over it on this, and you know, in silver. In the early copies of the record, you can actually still see his name, and I thought that was kind of cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the very interesting album cover. This is a watercolor painting done by George Harrison. Okay, now I'm going to open it up so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is, I'm trying to, so you can get a better look of it. Okay. Alright, well, according to Danny Harrison, George Harrison's son, in the 1990s, George found this painting at home, and he had asked his dad, hey, what is this? Well, George told him, well, I painted it. And he says, well, what's the significance of the people? What does it mean? So he says, well, here's what it is. He says, this picture right here of a person is Bernie Krause, and he is demonstrating how to use the Moog synthesizer. Okay? And you have all the little cables, the patchwork, and everything. Right down here, that little guy is supposed to be George Harrison, who is going to be making the tea. Right here. Okay? This is the description. And this is one of the Siamese cats. I think that's Jostic. On the back side is supposed to be at Apple Records, their offices, Derek Taylor's office. Okay? Let me, so you can, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it. Okay? So in the wicker chair here is Derek Taylor. He was a press officer for the Beatles, long-term friend and associate, business partner. He had a lot of dealings with Apple. Big position there. And what he's doing is he's actually flying a kite. An angry kite. And there are words here by this couch that says, grapple with it. He's basically, it's symbolizing the struggle that he's having to cope with all of the pressures and the problems at Apple Records. The four people here, the paintings on the wall are supposed to be the Beatles. at his office. I thought that's kind of cool. There is a picture here of a religious figure who is upside down. And if you also look here, the back, the outside is also upside down too. And to throw in a friend, this is supposed to be Eric Clapton during his days, near his days with Cream. He's got his little afro, his psychedelic look, his guitar. Now I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. Right here are the two roadies for the Beatles. You have Mel Evans and you have Neil Aspinall. Now Neil is frowning because he later went on to do the management for Apple Records for many years, and he's having some trouble dealing with that. And this is Mel, who's always smiling and having a good time. So, I think the cover is very interesting. So on a rating this, I would have to, from 1 to 10, I would have to say 10 being the best, I'd have to give it a 3. I can't give it that much higher. George was very dismissive of it at the time when it came out, and didn't really think too much of it. So I do want to thank you for watching my video, and you have a very nice day. Take care.